In this video, we'll discuss about what kind of freedom can minimalist living bring. When you adopt a minimalist lifestyle, one of the greatest benefits that you will experience is a strong sense of freedom. While this freedom stems from losing the drive to possess more things, it has significantly far-reaching implications that spread through all aspects of your everyday life. This freedom comes in many forms, some of which will be quite unexpected, but no less welcomed. Fewer possessions. Firstly, minimalism means that you'll own fewer possessions. This, in turn, frees you from the drive to accrue more of them over time. When you live intentionally with just the things you most need, by getting rid of the distractions that excess possessions can bring, you can put more of your focus onto the things in your life that matter most. Once you're free from the passion to own more, you'll be surprised by the pleasure that this can bring you. You'll be stepping off the consumerism treadmill and looking for the source of your happiness elsewhere. Where will you find that happiness? The answer will vary depending on your own life and circumstances. However, you'll almost certainly find the joy that you're seeking in your relationships, your experiences, and your self-care. When you learn to value what you've already got, you'll also be reminded to be more grateful for the things you have. And in that gratitude, you'll find that your life is infinitely more abundant than it was, even when you could have a house full of possessions. Freedom from frantic modern life. Another freedom that minimalism brings you is a release from the mania of modern living. The world today is running at a breakneck pace. We're all rushed, stressed, and hurried. We feel obliged to work long hours so we can pay our bills, and we fall into debt as we try to keep up with the neighbors. We also find that we're endlessly rushing between activities, multitasking instead of appreciating the experiences we're living through, while still struggling to accomplish anything worthwhile. Although we've all got cell phones which keep us permanently connected to those at home, at work, and elsewhere, we often still struggle to maintain positive and meaningful relationships in real life. When we embrace minimalist living, life can finally slow down. You can finally free yourself from the frenetic pace of modern life. You can disengage from all the pressures that we face today in the 21st century. It's only then that you can come to realize just how stressed you've been and how strained your relationships have become. With the new freedom that you've found, you can rectify that and start to rebuild a more positive living environment. Freedom from duplicity. Embracing the minimalist way of life means you no longer must live the duplicitous life. Whether or not you realize it, you're almost certainly portraying yourself in a different way to different people in your life. The way you act in front of your family is sure to be completely different from the way you behave at work or while you're around your neighbors. Yet, having to play up to an expected image can be hard work, and over time, the strain builds up. When you're living a minimalist life, everything becomes simpler. You can be more unified in your approach to those around you. With consistency, reliability, and dependability as part of your life each day, you'll have more transparency and honesty than you ever thought possible. No longer will you be tricked into chasing glamour, fame, and success. You'll learn to chase things that are much more meaningful, such as a strong relationship, peace, and positivity. When you adopt minimalist living, you'll find that you consume less and slow down, yet you'll enjoy your life much more. In this video, we'll discuss about what is minimalist living. The first question that you need to be answered if you're considering making the change to a minimalist lifestyle is what exactly one is. So, what is minimalism and how does it look in practice? What does minimalist living look like? Before we answer this question, let's just reiterate the fact that minimalist living is nothing new. It's something that has been around for a very long time. Monks and nuns from centuries ago chose to live with only the absolute essentials in their lives, so that they could focus on their faith and become closer to a supreme power. They found that by eschewing everyday luxuries, they could develop a greater understanding of themselves and their beliefs. Yet these days, things are very different. Very few people are living this kind of basic and simple lifestyle, Most of us have fallen into a trap of wanting more than just the basics. We have fallen prey to the media and marketeers' message that the secret to a happy life is to own more by having more of everything. More money, more success, more possessions, and more technology. Yet, those of us who seek to accrue an endless stream of possessions usually come to learn over time that the promise of happiness that advertisers dangle in front of us couldn't be more false. The real secret to finding happiness and peace is to think in terms of subtraction rather than addition. Less is more when it comes to finding satisfaction in life and peace of mind. Essentially, at its core, minimalism is all about living with less. While that can be taken literally as having fewer possessions, it has more far-reaching implications for the way that you live your life. The concept behind minimalist living is learning to identify the things which are important, and then focusing down on those things while eradicating everything else which is deemed to be unimportant from your life. The misunderstandings about minimalist living. As you might imagine, there is a lot of misunderstandings about what minimalist living really means. Many people think that it means you can't own a home or have a car. Others think that you're restricted to only having as many possessions as you can fit into a small backpack or bag. None of this is true. In fact, minimalist could be best described as intentionally promoting anything that you most value while removing anything which brings no value into your life. It is a concept that resonates differently with every individual. While for some, that may mean a great degree of elimination. For others, it may be much less extreme, but no less beneficial. The principle of minimalist living is to remove anything which can be considered as clutter from your everyday existence. This clutter may be physical, in the form of possessions that you simply don't require, or it may be emotional or mental, for example, in the form of toxic relationships that are causing you unhappiness or stressful situations in which you find yourself. It means that you adjust your mindset and, in doing so, learn how you can live your life not only with greater purpose, but also with greater peace. What is a life of intentionality? When you opt for a minimalist lifestyle, you're opting for a life of intentionality. What does this mean? It means that you're intentionally making time, space, and room for all the things which you love and value, while simultaneously eliminating all that could distract you from really enjoying and appreciating those things to the max. You're opting for a lifestyle in which you intentionally choose which possessions you should own and what you're going to do with them for yourself without relying on convention or pressure from external forces. You're also choosing how that will impact on your way of thinking and living, and how it will change your perspective on your own life. It may seem like an unusual concept. After all, we're more used to following the herd and accepting what everyone else does as the norm. However, if you take this way of living on board, you'll be surprised at the benefits you can reap. Minimalism brings with it a host of benefits which are well known to those who practice this way of living. Those who extol its virtues say that minimalist living is an effective tool to help you to find freedom from worry, fear, guilt, and depression. With around a quarter of us suffering from mental health issues at any one time, it's no wonder that so many people are now questioning whether minimalist living could be the right way to go. So, could you benefit from making these changes in your life? Here, you can learn more about how switching to a more minimalistic approach to everyday life can help you to enjoy greater freedom, to improve your relationships, to become more successful in your professional life, and, most importantly, to experience greater satisfaction and happiness across all areas of your life daily. In this video, we'll talk about how to embark on a minimalist lifestyle. If you've read this how-to guide so far and love the idea of what you've discovered, you might be wondering how you can embark on a minimalist lifestyle and reap all the benefits that it represents. There are no hard and fast rules about how to start living minimally. However, there's one thing to be aware of. It isn't something which you can achieve overnight. Most of us today have spent years accruing a lifetime of possessions. It would be unrealistic and unwelcome to even think about getting rid of them all in one fell swoop. When it comes to starting out with minimalism, it can feel very overwhelming. You may even be reading this in your living room, surrounded by a lifetime's worth of possessions, and wondering how you can ever get started with cutting them down to only the necessities and basics. The good news is that you can take your time. There's no need to rush into anything. In fact, adopting minimalist living can be a time-consuming process, and there's no need to worry about that or rush through it. Your top tips. Here are some top tips to help you launch your new, simpler way of living. Set an end goal. It's important to know what you want to achieve when you adopt a minimalist way of living. This will vary between individuals. While some people want to truly embrace minimalism to its fullest degree by cutting down their possessions to an absolute minimum and shedding the trappings of the 21st century completely, others are simply interested in cutting back on frivolities and to free up some space and time in their lives so they can enjoy themselves and have better overall well-being. Neither of these approaches is wrong, but you need to think about what really matters to you before you embark on the process. This will enable you to take a focused course of action that makes sense for your end goal. Set yourself a timeline. Once you're aware of what your end goals are in adopting a minimalist way of life, you need to set yourself a timeline to work through. When do you want to have completed the process of eliminating the clutter from your life? Again, there's no right or wrong answer to this question, and there's no need to feel pressured into rushing through the process. It's important, however, to set a timeline which is realistic for you. Set yourself small targets to work towards. For example, to declutter one room in your home every week so that you can experience a positive sense of accomplishment every time you tick another item off your list. Try to speed up the process, and it'll only add more stress to your life and increase the risk of giving up at the first hurdle. Think about changing your home. The first changes that you can make will take place in the home. It's usually easier to start with physical clutter rather than mental or emotional clutter. Look around your house or apartment and determine how many of your existing possessions you want to keep and how many you'd prefer to get rid of. Start with one room, then move on to the next once you've finished. This will help you feel as if you're accomplishing something worthwhile. Run an objective eye over each space and think about how you can make changes. Are your counters covered in appliances? Are your bookcases overflowing? Are there toys on the floor which need to be picked up every time you vacuum? These are all possible areas for decluttering that, when cleared, will free up space and time. Begin decluttering. Once you've planned your strategy and determined the areas in your home which need to be focused on and decluttered, it's time to begin the physical process of getting rid of all the excess possessions and items that you no longer need, value, or want. It's important to acknowledge that this can be a difficult process. Not only is it hard to decide which items need to be eradicated, it's equally difficult to make the commitment to getting rid of them. We naturally want to hang on to the things that we have, even when we know deep inside that we neither want them nor need them. It's important to get over those feelings and push on with the process of decluttering. A cluttered home means a cluttered mind, and a cluttered mind cannot be truly appreciative of all the positive things that surround it every day. So, be brave and take the plunge. While the process may be a challenging one, it'll be well worth it afterwards. Reduce gradually over time. It's rarely a good idea to leap straight into eliminating all the clutter in one go. For some people, this would be practically impossible due to the sheer volume of possessions which would need to be dealt with. For others, the process is more of an emotional challenge. Taking the decision to get rid of the things that you've accumulated over time can be difficult, and you don't need to rush it. Start slowly. Start by getting rid of the items which you won't miss, then work up to weighing up the value of the more contentious items. Once you get into the habit of weighing up the importance of everything you own, it'll become second nature, and you'll find it becoming easier to take decisions about whether an item should be kept or removed from your life. Reuse and recycle. Although the minimalist approach involves getting rid of clutter that are of no value in your life, that doesn't mean that you should throw them away. In fact, that's contrary to the eco-friendly aspect of this kind of lifestyle. Reusing and recycling are two key components of minimalist living. Think about how each item that you own could be used for several purposes. Could an item be recycled and used for something else rather than thrown away if it isn't needed in its current form? Could someone you know benefit from your unwanted items?